I've spent 20 years working with broken things. Timepieces that stopped decades ago. Mechanisms so delicate that one wrong move destroys them forever. You learn patience in this line of work. You learn to listen to what isn't being said. My wife asked for a divorce on a Thursday afternoon. Not over dinner, not during some emotional conversation. She walked into my workshop while I was calibrating a 1920s pocket watch and said she wanted out. Clean, direct, like she was ordering coffee. I set down my tools and looked at her. 20 years of marriage, and I was seeing a stranger. I want the house, she said, already moving to the business part. The investments, the art collection, and obviously the watch collection. You've put enough away that splitting it would be complicated, so I'm proposing I take it all. I didn't interrupt. In my profession, you don't react until you understand the full mechanism. And Juliet, she continued, mentioning our 10-year-old daughter like she was discussing furniture. I don't want custody. A child would complicate my transition right now. I'm starting a new phase, and honestly, she's better off with you. The pocket watch on my desk kept ticking. Steady, consistent, honest. You've been planning this, I said. Not a question. She shrugged. Amber helped me think it through. She knows a good attorney. Amber, her friend who'd been whispering in her ear for months about living your truth and not settling for ordinary. I'd watched my wife change, piece by piece, like someone was replacing her internal gears with cheaper parts. There's someone else, I said. That's not relevant to the divorce terms. So yes. She sighed, already impatient. His name is Brandon. He's a financial consultant with a social media presence. He's helped me see that I've been living too small, too safe. You're a wonderful person, but you're stuck. You work with old things, dead things. I want to be around people who are building futures, not preserving the past. I stood up, walked to the window. Our daughter was outside, practicing cartwheels on the lawn, completely unaware that her mother was erasing her from the equation. She's 10 years old, I said quietly, which is exactly why this is the right time. She'll adjust. Children are resilient. I turned back to face her. You're abandoning your daughter for some influencer. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm making a difficult choice about what's best for everyone. You're the better parent anyway. You're patient. You're home more often. This is actually a gift to her. The way she'd reframed it, turned cruelty into kindness, was almost impressive. Almost. Fine, I said. She blinked. Fine. Take it. The house, the money, the collection. All of it. You're not going to fight me? Why would I? You clearly know what you want. She studied me for a moment, suspicious. In 20 years, she'd learned I don't make quick decisions. But she also knew I don't waste time on lost causes. Okay then, she said slowly. My attorney will draft everything. We can have this done in a few weeks. Make it faster. She almost smiled. I knew you'd be reasonable about this. After she left the workshop, I sat back down at my bench. The pocket watch was still ticking, keeping perfect time despite being nearly a century old. Some mechanisms are built to last. Others just look good until you put them under pressure. I picked up my loop and went back to work. There was a lot to do and not much time to do it. My wife thought she understood value because she could see price tags. But I'd spent decades learning the difference between what something costs and what it's actually worth. She wanted everything, and I was going to give it to her. Every single piece. The attorney my wife hired was efficient. Papers arrived within 3 days, outlining exactly how she planned to carve up our life. I read through every page twice, then called the number at the bottom. Leonard McKee answered on the second ring. I got your contact information from Jeffrey Hunt, I said. He said you were the best divorce attorney in the state. I appreciate the referral. When can you come in? Tomorrow morning works. His office was downtown, 3rd floor of a building that had character but not pretension. He was in his 50s, gray hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. I've reviewed the paperwork your wife's attorney sent, he said, spreading the documents across his desk. I have to be honest with you. This is one of the most lopsided proposals I've seen in 23 years of practice. She wants everything. She wants everything, and she's demanding immediate transfer of assets, which raises several red flags. He leaned forward. Here's what concerns me most. Your wife is requesting sole ownership of the watch collection without independent appraisal, the house without equity calculation, and the business accounts without forensic audit. She's also waiving any requirement for maintenance certification on the collection pieces. That's a problem for her, not me. Actually, it's a problem for both of you. If we let this go through as written, you're giving up approximately 3.7 million in assets for essentially nothing. More concerning, based on the financial records you provided, there are significant irregularities in the accounts she's claiming. I noticed that too. Transfers to accounts I didn't recognize, investments in ventures that made no sense, loans against the business line of credit. How bad is it? I asked. Leonard pulled out a folder. I had a friend at the bank do some preliminary checking. Quietly, your wife has been moving money for about 6 months. She's invested heavily in what appears to be a cryptocurrency venture run by her new boyfriend. From what we can tell, it's lost about 40% of its value already. She doesn't know that yet. The statements are designed to hide losses. It's technically legal, but barely. The real issue is this. He tapped another document. When she demanded exclusive ownership of all marital assets, she also demanded exclusive liability. That means every debt, every tax obligation, every pending legal claim becomes hers alone. And there are quite a few of those. More than she realizes. The art gallery has vendor contracts she hasn't reviewed. The house has a second mortgage she apparently forgot about. And your watch collection. He smiled grimly. Without your authentication and maintenance records, those pieces are worth maybe 20 cents on the dollar. The insurance companies won't touch them. I sat back, processing. So if I fight this, I win. If you fight this, you destroy her financially. She walks away with nothing and owes money she can't pay. You keep everything. And if I don't fight, then you're either incredibly stupid or incredibly smart, and I haven't figured out which yet. I looked at the papers spread across his desk. 20 years of accumulated life, reduced to legal language and dollar amounts. My daughter's face flashed through my mind. The way she'd looked when her mother explained she was transitioning to a new chapter. I want to give her everything, I said. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Leonard studied me for a long moment. You understand what you're signing away? Not just money, but security, your business foundation, pieces that took you years to acquire and restore. I understand perfectly. Then why? I thought about how to explain it. In my work, you learn that some mechanisms look perfect until you apply pressure. They run smooth when nothing's at stake. But add weight, add stress, and the flaws reveal themselves. She wants the pressure. I'm going to give it to her. That's cold. That's accurate. He sighed, pulling out fresh paperwork. I'll need this in writing. Multiple times. I'm protecting myself here because when this goes sideways, I don't want you coming back saying I didn't warn you. Fair enough. One more thing, he said, pen hovering over the documents. Your daughter. Have you thought about how this affects her? Every second of every day. She's going to need you. More than ever. I know. That's why I'm doing this. We spent the next 2 hours drafting responses, setting up the transfer agreements, and making sure every detail was ironclad. When we finished, Leonard looked at me with something between respect and concern. Your wife thinks she's won, he said. She has. She got exactly what she asked for. That's what worries me about this whole thing. In my experience, people who get everything they want rarely know what to do with it. I shook his hand and walked out into the afternoon sun. My phone buzzed. A text from my wife. Brandon says you're being very mature about this. Thank you for not making it difficult. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say that time wouldn't say better. The final hearing was scheduled for a Friday morning. I wore a simple suit, nothing expensive. My wife arrived 20 minutes early, dressed like she was attending a magazine photo shoot. Brandon was with her, all teeth and confidence, his hand possessively on her lower back. Juliet sat next to me, quiet and small. She'd asked me twice that morning if she had to go. I told her no, but she insisted. I want to see what happens, she'd said. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Judge Morrison presided, a woman in her 60s who looked like she'd heard every variation of human stupidity and wasn't impressed by any of it. This is a dissolution of marriage between the petitioner and respondent, she began, reading from the file. I've reviewed the settlement terms. Mr. Richmond, you're represented by Leonard McKee. Is that correct? Leonard stood. Yes, Your Honor. And you've advised your client on the terms of this agreement? Extensively, Your Honor. Multiple times. The judge looked at me over her reading glasses. Sir, I'm going to ask you directly. Do you understand that you're signing over the marital home, all investment accounts, the business assets, and a collection valued at approximately $2.8 million? Yes, Your Honor. And you're doing this willingly? I am. She set down the papers. I've been doing this for 32 years, and I've never seen someone give away this much without a fight. Your attorney has noted multiple times in his filings that he advised against this settlement. Why are you proceeding? My wife's attorney started to object, but the judge raised her hand. I want to hear from him directly. I stood up. Your Honor, my wife has made it clear what she wants. I see no reason to turn this into a battle. She believes these assets will make her happy. I hope she's right. The judge studied me, then looked at my wife. Mrs. Richmond, you're also waiving all parental rights and responsibilities for your minor daughter. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. My ex-husband is better equipped to provide primary care. You understand this is permanent? You're not entitled to custody or visitation unless your ex-husband agrees. I understand completely. Juliet's hand tightened on mine. I squeezed back gently. The judge shook her head slightly, then signed the documents. Very well. The settlement is approved as written. Mrs. Richmond receives all specified assets. Mr. Richmond receives full custody of the minor child. This marriage is dissolved. It was done. 20 years, finished in under 30 minutes. My wife was smiling as we left the courtroom. She leaned over to Brandon, who whispered something that made her laugh. They were already planning, already spending, already living the life they'd imagined. Leonard pulled me aside in the hallway. Last chance to change your mind. I'm good. You're either the biggest fool I've ever met or the smartest man in this building. I genuinely can't tell which. Give it time. He handed me a business card. When things go sideways, and they will, call me. I have a feeling this isn't over. It's completely over. She got what she wanted. Juliet tugged on my sleeve. Can we go home now? I looked down at her. This small person who mattered more than every asset combined. Yeah, let's go home. As we walked to the car, I heard my wife's voice behind us. Thank you for being reasonable about this. Brandon and I really appreciate it. I didn't turn around. Didn't respond. There was nothing to say. That evening, my wife posted on social media a photo of her and Brandon, champagne glasses raised, caption reading, "New beginnings." Sometimes you have to leave the past behind to step into your future. Grateful for this next chapter. The comments were full of support. Friends congratulating her bravery. Strangers celebrating her courage. I turned off my phone and sat down with Juliet. We ordered pizza, watched a movie she'd been wanting to see, and didn't talk about the hearing. She fell asleep on the couch halfway through, her head on my shoulder. I carried her upstairs, tucked her in. When I came back down, I walked into my workshop. The pocket watch I'd been working on was still there, still keeping perfect time after all these years. I picked it up, held it to my ear. Steady, consistent, patient. Some mechanisms are built to last because they're simple, honest, and don't try to be more than what they are. Others look impressive but fall apart the moment you wind them too tight. My wife had just wound herself very, very tight. I set the watch back down and turned off the light. Tom would do the rest. 2 weeks passed quietly. Juliet adjusted better than I expected, though I caught her staring at her mother's empty closet once. She didn't cry, just stood there, processing. I'd taken a short-term lease on a small house near the lake. Nothing fancy, but it had a dock and a workshop space in the garage. Juliet liked feeding the ducks in the morning before school. My phone rang on a Wednesday afternoon. Unknown number. This is Christy O'Brien from Wiley Authentication Services. I'm calling about the Richmond collection. What about it? Your ex-wife contacted us about selling several pieces. A 1910 Patek Philippe, a 1885 Vacheron Constantin, and 3 others. She's requesting immediate authentication and insurance verification for sale. And there was a pause. Sir, these pieces require continuous maintenance certification. Without your signature confirming the restoration work and ongoing care, we can't authenticate them. The insurance policies are void without it. I'm aware. She's insisting we proceed anyway. I wanted to confirm with you directly before I explained to her that these pieces, without proper documentation, are worth approximately 15 to 20% of their appraised value. That's accurate. So you won't be providing the certification? I won't be providing anything. She owns those pieces now. What she does with them is her business. Another pause. Understood. Thank you for clarifying. I hung up. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time I recognized the number. My ex-wife. I didn't answer. She called 3 more times that evening. Then the text started. We need to talk about the collection. This is important. Call me back. You're being childish. These pieces need your signature. I blocked the number. The next morning, Leonard called. Your ex-wife's attorney contacted me. Apparently, there's an issue with the watch collection. Not my issue. That's what I told them. But they're threatening to sue for fraud, claiming you didn't disclose the certification requirements. Everything was in the documentation. Her attorney should have read it. That's my position exactly. They're scrambling now because she's already committed to selling pieces to cover some expenses. Without the authentication, she's stuck. How unfortunate. There's more. I got a call from a friend at First National. Your ex-wife tried to take out a line of credit against the house. During the property review, they discovered the second mortgage. She didn't know about it. She should have reviewed the paperwork more carefully. She's also received her first tax notice on the investment accounts. Apparently, transferring assets mid-year has consequences. Her accountant is, and I quote, losing his mind. I didn't respond. You knew all of this was coming, Leonard said. I knew the documentation existed. What she chose to read or ignore wasn't my responsibility. Fair enough. Just wanted to keep you informed. Oh, and one more thing. Her boyfriend's cryptocurrency venture collapsed yesterday. Federal investigation for securities fraud. It's all over the financial news. Is that so? Brandon's apparently cooperating with investigators, trying to reduce his exposure. Word is he invested heavily using other people's money. How unfortunate for those people. Leonard chuckled. You're a cold man. I'm a patient man. There's a difference. That weekend, Juliet and I were at the hardware store picking up supplies for a birdhouse project when I saw Amber, my ex-wife's friend, the one who'd encouraged this entire disaster. She saw me too, started to approach, then thought better of it. Instead, she pulled out her phone, making a show of being busy. Juliet tugged my sleeve. That's Mom's friend. I know. She looks scared. She should be. We paid for our supplies and left. On the drive home, Juliet was quiet for a while, then said, Mom's not happy, is she? Why do you say that? She hasn't posted anything in 2 weeks. She always posts. Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. People go through changes, I said carefully. Sometimes those changes are harder than expected. Is she going to lose all the money? Where did you hear that? Kids at school. Their parents talk. Small town. Everyone knew everyone's business. Your mother made choices based on what she thought would make her happy. Sometimes we learn that what we want and what we need are different things. Do you think she'll figure that out? I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. 10 years old and already asking questions most adults couldn't answer. I think she'll figure out something. Whether it's the right thing, that's up to her. We spent the rest of the afternoon building the birdhouse. Juliet measured carefully, cut precisely, and painted with concentration. She had steady hands. Good focus. Dad, she said as we were cleaning up. Yeah, I'm glad I'm with you. I put down the paintbrush and hugged her. Me too, kid. Me too. That night, after she went to bed, I sat on the dock watching the sunset. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Amber. We need to talk about what you did. I deleted it without responding. The mechanism was already in motion. All I had to do now was wait. 6 weeks after the divorce, Leonard called me on a Saturday morning. You need to see this. He texted me a link to a local news article. The headline read, Local financial influencer under federal investigation for securities fraud. Brandon's photo was front and center, that same confident smile now looking desperate. The article detailed a scheme involving fake cryptocurrency investments, fabricated returns, and nearly 40 investors who'd lost money. Total damage is estimated at $2 million. Your ex-wife's name is mentioned, Leonard said. She's listed as one of the primary investors who encouraged others to join. She didn't know it was fraudulent. Doesn't matter. Civil suits are already being filed. If they can prove she benefited from recruiting others, she's liable. How much trouble is she in? Enough that she'll be selling everything just to cover legal fees and potential settlements. The house is already in foreclosure proceedings. The bank moved fast once they realized the second mortgage payment stopped. What about the art gallery? Closed last week. Vendor contracts she couldn't fulfill, rent she couldn't pay. The whole thing collapsed in under a month. I set down my coffee. That's faster than I expected. That's what happens when you build on sand. One strong wave and it's gone. He paused. She's been trying to reach you. I know. You're not going to help her. She got exactly what she asked for. Everything. I'm just letting her enjoy it. That's brutal. That's honest. That afternoon, Juliet and I went fishing off the dock. She was getting good at casting, her movements becoming more confident. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the lines, waiting for bites. Mom called the school, she said suddenly. What did she want? To talk to me. The secretary said I had to ask you first. Do you want to talk to her? Juliet was quiet for a long moment, watching the water. Not yet. Maybe later. But not yet. That's fair. Is she in trouble? There was no point lying to her. She heard things at school, saw things online. Kids talked. She made some choices that didn't work out the way she planned. Now she's dealing with the consequences. Because of the money? Because she didn't think things through. She wanted something fast, easy, impressive. But the things worth having usually take time and work. Like fixing watches. Exactly like fixing watches. She nodded, processing this. Then she got a bite, and the conversation was forgotten as she reeled in a decent-sized base. 2 days later, I was in the workshop when someone knocked on the garage door. I opened it to find Amber standing there, looking nothing like the confident woman I'd seen at the hardware store. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. She's losing everything. You know that, right? The house, the accounts, all of it. She's about to be homeless. That's unfortunate. You did this on purpose. You knew what would happen. I gave her exactly what she demanded. Every single thing on her list. If she didn't understand what she was taking, that's not my fault. You could have warned her. About what? That actions have consequences? That debts don't disappear because you don't want to think about them? She's an adult. She made adult choices. Amber's face flushed. She trusted you. No, she didn't. She assumed I was too weak to let her take everything. There's a difference. I started to close the door. If that's all you came to say, I've got work to do. What about Juliet? Doesn't she deserve to have her mother in her life? I stopped. Juliet had a mother who chose a lifestyle over her daughter. That mother walked away without a second thought. If that woman wants back into Juliet's life, she can earn it. But not by sending you to guilt me into fixing her problems. You're heartless. I'm clear-eyed. And I'm done with this conversation. I closed the door. That evening, Leonard sent me another update. The civil suits against my ex-wife were proceeding. Brandon had apparently fled the state, leaving her to face the investors alone. Her attorney had withdrawn from representation, citing unpaid fees. She's going to lose everything within the month, Leonard wrote. The house auction is scheduled for next Friday. After legal fees and settlements, she'll be lucky to break even. More likely, she'll still owe money. I read the message twice, then put my phone away. Juliet was at the kitchen table, working on homework. Math problems, carefully written in her neat handwriting. Need help? I asked. I got it. But can you check my answers when I'm done? Sure thing. She smiled and went back to work. Focused. Determined. Unbroken. Outside, the sun was setting over the lake. The water reflected gold and orange, peaceful and constant. Tomorrow I'd teach Juliet how to adjust the timing on her first clock mechanism. She'd been asking about it for weeks. My ex-wife had wanted everything. She'd gotten everything. And now she was learning what I'd known all along. Some treasures become anchors when you don't know how to handle them. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vengeful. I just felt quiet. Sometimes the best response isn't a response at all. Sometimes you just let time do what time does best, reveal the truth. 3 months after the divorce became final, I received a certified letter. Inside was a single sheet of paper from the county clerk's office, confirming the auction sale of my former marital home. Final price, 62% of its assessed value. After the second mortgage, liens, and legal fees, the net proceeds were $11,000. Leonard called that same afternoon. The civil settlements are finalized. Your ex-wife owes approximately $340,000 to the defrauded investors. She has no assets left to satisfy the judgment. So bankruptcy? Already filed. Chapter 7. She'll be discharged of the debt, but her credit is destroyed for the next decade. No home ownership, no business loans, nothing. And Brandon fled to Mexico. Interpol has a warrant, but it'll be years before anything happens. He's gone. I thanked Leonard for the update and hung up. That weekend, Juliet had her first successful clock repair. A simple wind-up alarm clock from the 1960s, nothing valuable, but she diagnosed the problem herself and fixed it without my help. When it started ticking again, her face lit up with pure joy. I did it, she said, almost whispering. You absolutely did. Can I try something harder next time? Absolutely. We celebrated with ice cream at the place by the lake. She got chocolate chip, I got vanilla. Simple, uncomplicated, perfect. On the drive home, she asked the question I'd been expecting for weeks. Is mom okay? Honestly, no, she's not. Is she homeless? She's staying with Amber temporarily. After that, I don't know. Juliet was quiet, staring out the window. Do you think she misses me? That question hurt worse than anything my ex-wife had done. I think she's dealing with a lot right now, but that doesn't mean she doesn't think about you. Would you let her see me if she asked? I pulled over, turned to look at her directly. If your mother gets her life together and genuinely wants to be part of yours, I won't stand in the way. But she has to prove she's ready. Not to me, to you. What if she never does? Then you'll know you have a father who chose you first every single time. She nodded, processing this. Can we go home now? I want to work on that pocket watch you showed me. The 1920s piece? Yeah. You said the escapement wheel needs adjustment. I want to try. We drove home, and she spent the next 2 hours carefully working on a mechanism worth more than most cars. Her hands were steady, her focus absolute. She had the gift. That evening, after Juliet went to bed, I sat on the dock with my phone. There were 17 missed calls from my ex-wife over the past month, all from different numbers. I'd ignored every one. Finally, a text came through from a number I didn't recognize. This is Molly. Your ex-wife asked me to reach out. She wants to talk to Juliet. Just 5 minutes. Please. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed. When she's ready to have that conversation, Juliet knows how to reach her mother. Not before. The response came immediately. She's lost everything. Have some compassion. She chose to give up her daughter for a lifestyle that didn't exist. Compassion would be pretending that was okay. Respect is letting her face what she chose. No response came after that. 6 months later, I received an email. My ex-wife had found work as a sales associate at a department store. She was living in a small apartment, sharing it with 2 roommates. She asked, carefully and humbly, if she could send Juliet a birthday card. I showed Juliet the email. She read it twice, then said, tell her yes, but just a card. I'm not ready for more. I replied with exactly that. The card arrived on Juliet's 11th birthday. Simple, generic, with a handwritten note. I think about you every day. I hope you're happy. Love, Mom. Juliet read it, put it in her desk drawer, and went back to the vintage watch she was restoring. A year after the divorce, Leonard called one final time. Just wanted to update you. Your ex-wife's bankruptcy is complete. She's working 2 jobs now, paying rent on time, staying out of trouble. Looks like she's actually trying to rebuild. Good for her. You ever going to talk to her? About what? We have nothing to discuss. Fair enough. How's Juliet doing? She just finished restoring a 1947 Omega. Sold it for $1,200. Her money, her work. That's impressive. She's got the patience for it. The focus. She understands that good things take time. Sounds like she learned from her father. Sounds like she learned from experience. I hung up and walked out to the dock where Juliet was sitting, feet dangling in the water, working on sketches for a custom display case she wanted to build. Hey, Dad, she said without looking up. You think we could get a better workbench? The old one is starting to wobble. We can build one. Better than buying. Cool. Can we start this weekend? Absolutely. She smiled and went back to her sketches. The sunset painted the lake in gold and amber. Somewhere across town, my ex-wife was probably finishing a shift, riding a bus home, living a life she never imagined she'd have. She'd wanted everything. She'd gotten everything. And she'd learned what I'd known all along. The things that matter can't be taken in a courtroom or bought with money. I'd lost a house, a collection, and years of accumulated wealth. But I'd kept what actually mattered. And that was everything.